Universally, I think Xbox's Game Pass is pretty much loved by gamers themselves. While there is a little bit of a situation where people obviously are in this kind of fanboy nonsense, I think people try to find ridiculous reasons why they don't like Xbox Game Pass. I can never find a reason. And now you have developers maybe coming to the aid of Microsoft after some ridiculous things leaked out, after some ridiculous comments were made by Sony. I wonder how this is going to turn out long term. I don't really know. I do know that Microsoft is committed to Xbox, and I've never been more sure of that in my life, while Sony seems committed to the old ways because they want to continue to gouge people for $70 a game. It's a weird thing. And it's like, you might ask me, well, crap gamer, well, isn't that bad for developers or bad for the industry? Things that shake up the industry don't necessarily have to be bad. Yes, the industry was shaken up by what Microsoft was doing because it had never really been attempted before. And people are naturally wary. I was wary of it as well at first, but now you start to look at it and you go, I was crazy to worry about that. It's a great thing. And yes, here's the thing. I usually have a set side of money that I'm going to use to buy games throughout the year, right? Like, it's usually a set amount. Now, because it was, always going to be every Xbox exclusive pretty much, like I would normally buy Starfield, right? Well, I actually did. I bought the CE with that, so that's a bad example. But let's just say Forza Motorsport, the new one that's coming out this year. I would usually buy the $100 version of that. Instead, I'm going to use that money to buy another game or two, and I'm going to still play Forza through Game Pass. That's what Microsoft wants, folks. So Jim Ryan went on this rant and literally said, and this was so funny to me, he talks to, quote-unquote, all publishers, and universally, they hate Game Pass. They don't like Game Pass. They do not like Game Pass. They hate it. They don't like it for whatever reason, So it's sort of strange to me. You mean to tell me that a guy who gets people to spend $70 a pop up front for games doesn't like an idea where you have to build up fans and a subscriber base, but they can ultimately make you much more money long term? Of course he's going to want you guys to keep paying $70, right? Like, I think this is no more, like, I haven't seen this yet, but if I was, like, a huge PlayStation fan, I would be incensed over the fact that Game Pass gets MLB The Show every single year, and yet PlayStation fans have to pay $70, $100 for that game, right? Like, it's a really ridiculous thing, and people might start to catch on. So far, I don't see how they haven't caught on, but it could be a situation that, obviously they want to kind of keep misleading people as much as they can. So when I look at this, I have to look at things and I go, hey, this is really very interesting to see how this is kind of coming out. But Xbox Game Pass, according to this developer, and other ones as well, are starting to come to the aid of Microsoft. This one says, Xbox Game Pass has been nothing but positive despite Sony's boss's claims. There are developers out there who like Xbox Game Pass, even if head honcho at PlayStation says otherwise. Case in point, Miles Jacobson, who oversees the Football Manager franchise at Sports Interactive, spoke out in favor of Microsoft's subscription service. Eurogamer asked the studio head at Sports Interactive about PlayStation President Jim Ryan's assertion that all publishers don't like Xbox Game Pass, and he said, every studio is going to have different opinions on this, and different studios will have different data, because different games work well in different situations. For us, it's nothing but positive on all three platforms. He also added that as Sega-owned studio, they run quite a tight ship. So Sports Interactive doesn't need and doesn't tend to do deals that are bad for any parts of its business. For those curious, Football Manager 23 became a Game Pass lineup resident back in November of 22. Now, Ryan's comments about Game Pass came as part of the FTC Microsoft trial that's led to all sorts of revelations. For example, Ryan apparently didn't think Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard was about Call of Duty exclusivity, saying as much in an email back in 2022. Then there are documents showcasing that Microsoft reportedly explored buying up Square Enix in the past. So again, for Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft has had to clarify its own admission that the service has the ability to cannibalize games, which again was never really an issue as far as I can tell, right? Like, you knew that the big games were going to be like that. Like, at least I did, because that was one of my big concerns. I'm like, well, won't this lead people to not buy some of your bigger games, which obviously is the case, but to Microsoft's credit, they care more about people staying subscribed, and to get people to stay subscribed, you need a constant flow of great content, which is exactly what, the plan is. If you have a huge game hitting every single year, or every single 3-4 months, then that's going to keep people subscribed to Game Pass, and you're going to get those billions of dollars through that. And I think that with Activision, that's going to be a huge thing as well. If this can get pushed through, and it's looking like it will, that they'll actually be able to have those games in there as well. Can you imagine people playing Call of Duty day one on Game Pass, or you have a situation where you could have gamers play Diablo 4 day one, or whatever the next Diablo is, or the next Crash Bandicoot game. I think that would be great. And again, at the same time, I think that Microsoft has still have some things to prove, and I think that at the same time, Microsoft still has a long way to go, but they're on the right path, and I don't think anybody can deny that. That's the thing that I would like to kind of point out, that hey, you know what? Microsoft may be struggling a little bit in terms of perception, but I still think that they're nailing it where it needs to be done, and that's where this kind of stuff comes into play. So I do think Microsoft is doing a really good job here, and obviously there's so much news coming out and all this kind of stuff. And again, this is just really basic stuff here, right? If you're a developer, if you're a publisher, obviously Jim Ryan misspoke, or he didn't mean all publishers, because when you say you speak to all publishers, that's all. And then when you say they unanimously say they don't like Game Pass, unanimously and all means all, and that's just a lie, because we've seen games go day one on Game Pass. We know EA, with EA Play Plus, they do their day one Game Pass, their day one games in that service. EA Play is in Game Pass. Ubisoft Plus is the day one games as well. Capcom, Sega, all these publishers are putting games into Xbox day one. So to believe that all of them hate Xbox is really just a complete lie. And I think that it's more than about time that people kind of understand what's going on with that, and exactly why Microsoft is kind of pushing the things that they are. It's not a bad thing. Microsoft is really kind of doing the things that they need to do to be competitive. And here's the thing, right? Like, so many people just want to hate on Xbox for whatever reason. Back in 20 decades ago, Xbox did this, and so I don't really like them anymore. That's really a piss poor excuse, in my opinion. Hey, so 15 years ago, under different management, Xbox really screwed up. Okay, and 20 years ago, or whatever it was, with the PS3, Sony screwed up. We could go round and round with this stuff, but if you're willing to look past one's foibles, so to speak, then why not both? I don't understand why Sony gets this free pass and Microsoft doesn't. It never made sense to me why that was the case. I feel like Microsoft, they've messed up sometimes. They've made up for it. Sony's messed up sometimes. They've made up for it in some ways. I still feel like, gamers deserve to be updated on what's coming in terms of a roadmap. And I'll always think that, right? Nothing will ever change that thought process for me personally. So I would love to hear what you guys all think, though. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy the content, please like it. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thank you so much for watching. Crap Gamer out.